Palworld. 2 years ago, that game released and everybody lost their rabid Pokemon minds thinking, oh my goodness, finally, I can actually destroy and annihilate and carve up and eat all the Pokemon and slice them up in little specific ways. I can have them work for me in a slave labor camp. Now, a while back, I remember that this game got announced, and the first thing I saw about it was PETA is making a Pokemon game to show the slave labor of Pokemon. Now, that was a big fake thing. That was just a fake little headline. It was what the original purpose of clip farming was, with fake captions, and people were saying, oh, this game is actively a game that is actually using Pokemon, but you're using them as slaves, and it was a game by PETA. It was weird. It was a strange thing, when in reality it was a game by Pocket Pair, and Pocket Pair was making a lovely game, and the 1.0 release is finally out. It was in early access for 2 years. People were playing it. You were allowed to play it, but now it's in early access. I believe right now it's $20 still. So if you want to pick it up, it's $20. You can just go ahead and get the game. It's really fun. It's an amazing game, and it has so much content, and it is outstanding at a $20 price point that will increase to $30 after the sale is over for the release. So what am I talking about today? Well, Pokemon fans are pissed yet again at Palworld. So we have things like this. Don't care. Palworld is still soulless AI slop, and I hope Nintendo obliterates them. Nintendo could not sue them in totality. They had to actively drop all the reasons for suing them. I believe how Spears got changed for a little bit, but then it got put back. It was very interesting. They're talking about the Cinda and the redesign of this PAL right here, Verdash, which was Cinderace essentially. And then we have another person that's pissed. If you're a fan of Palworld, I do not want anything to do with you. By the way, please block me. The developer is using AI in the past and plagiarizing designs they only are now just trying to fix. Should be enough for people to not support, yet here we are. People like this remind me that you cannot make a single mistake in the past. It's very, very, very interesting to see. I see a lot of artists get mad about a lot of stuff like this, which is fair. If they use AI, then I understand that you don't like them. You never will like them. But they're trying their best to make amends upon the AI what was used in Palworld. And also, this is going to sound really horrible to hear. The average person really doesn't care about AI. To be quite honest with you, the AI issue is a very big issue, and it is destroying the world in totality, but the average person is still going to play the game regardless of AI. But this isn't really a point of contingency here at all. It's the AI they're talking about using wasn't for making the characters in themselves or making the designs in themselves. There are actual artists on Pocket Pair that made the stuff. The AI in Holder was placeholder AI assets. There was placeholder AI assets found in Palworld. It was a whole thing there. But continuing forward, something about Palworld just rubs me the wrong way. I don't hate the game, it's just not my type of game, but my gut tells me there's something up with it, and the way it's being marketed and talked about that rubs me the wrong way. So this is what we call vibes based, right? Just purely, essentially off of the vibes. Nothing about this is not vibe based. It is vibes based in totality. It's disgusting. It's crazy. And also, I think this person is a heavy Pokemon fan because they share a lot of Pokemon stuff, some of that variety. That's what it is. And then I do think the fact that Palworld is forever linked with Pokemon is a big part of that, and the fact that I think that has been done very intentionally by developers and marketing team. It's simply just Pokemon fans getting wildly mad. Now, blah blah bada bing bada boom. Now I want to show you something really cool, because this is my favorite thing I've ever seen. It's actually the reason I made this video. There is a big post about Palworld, and it reminds me of when you see a dad in an old Hallmark movie like Click or something of that variety, and the whole movie is about them gaining empathy, right? The whole movie is, oh, I shouldn't work all these hours and I should care about my family. It feels exactly like that. It feels like a man learning how to be a person, the movie archetype, but as a post. So this is Superior. There's this person right here. 10 hours into Power 1.0. Here are my initial thoughts, especially as a hardcore Pokemon fan and Pokemon defender, because I think my point of view could be interesting for the many discourses. Now, this is super cool. This person just tried Palworld. I want to point this out. They just tried Palworld for 10 hours. Observe. Before voicing my opinion / experience, let me establish some context. The beginning of Palworld and its EA state early access definitely brought about massive arguments of Pokemon replacement and Game Freak sucks discourses. Nintendo and TPC have also attacked Pocket Pair over patents, specifically the whole ball catching mechanics. I do in fact believe that this was very scummy from Nintendo and TPC's side, and I do agree that many of their practices are downright anti-consumer and very aggressive against genuine fans of their franchises. Gotta respect they addressed that prior, because Pokemon does not care about his fans at all. In no capacity does Pokemon even slightly care about his fans. It's the most amazing thing ever. It's a big reason why I have an issue with Woofy VGC, because Woofy VGC is such a Pokemon shill because his entire platform is Pokemon based. It's why I don't trust primarily Pokemon based YouTubers when it comes to any reviews about Pokemon games, because I know they're not doing it for a love of the game. If you are about 100,000 subscribers and you're making a Pokemon review, I might trust you. And same with any Nintendo game in totality. But if you're at 1 million subscribers and you're a Nintendo-based channel, I don't trust you when you talk about Nintendo products, because I know that you are doing this because this is literally your bag, and you can't have any moral integrity to criticize your paycheck. That's just what you are. Now then, on to my thoughts. Initially, I hated Palworld, mainly because of grifters and hardcore Pokemon haters being a loud voice on the internet and instantly dogging on Pokemon, especially after the very shaky release of Scarlet and Violet and its mountain of issues. Yeah, you hated Palworld. This is important. You hated Palworld because your Pokemon game sucked. Interesting. People were rightfully criticizing the Pokemon game. Following years of varying quality issues throughout recent Pokemon games, I have my own thoughts on this, but that's a story for another time. My initial opinion of Palworld was definitely affected by pretty much just the internet, the hatred, and general discourse. It's like how Destiny 2 players were dogging on Marathon for existing, so of course naturally my view of Destiny 2 itself is going to be tarnished. Sorry guys. Either way, despite me criticizing Palworld for copying designs, which I still believe they definitely did, yeah, I believe that 100%. And even in the end, they necessarily didn't breach any intellectual properties apparently, and saying things that would make it seem Palworld only exists to trash on Pokemon, I still held a tiny bit of interest, especially since there are some PAL designs out there that, in my opinion, are genuinely good. I fail to understand. I keep forgetting that the average person cares about merchandising more than I even thought. The average person is by nature a consumer. It's the same reason why they make these cutesy little designs and totalities, because the average person genuinely only cares about consumerism and what they can spend and how cute a design is, because that's what gets them enticed into it. Big reason why Pikachu is a big mascot of the entire franchise of Pokemon is because Raichu, it looks bad. I don't know what to tell you. Doesn't look like Pikachu. It's a big thing there. So this person's superior like the designs, like Chillette, Azeroth, Jet Dragon, and if I remember correctly, and later on ones like Terrantris. Over time, I would say my hatred for Palworld decreased as it did eventually find its own vibe, its own identity, even though I wasn't much of a fan of the comically mature nature and the very slavery-oriented aspects of the game. It really looked like they just want to mock Pokemon and mock the player base. I still believe that somehow both Pokemon and Palworld could exist with one trashing another, even if grifters use Palworld to dog on Pokemon, and even if Nintendo tried to take down Pocket Bear with their lawyers. Eventually, I just didn't care. I tried to be more neutral, not really diving into the pals, until its official release 2 years after its early access state. So this is, and I have no hate for this person right now, right? But the biggest issue I'm discovering is that you just didn't try the tuna fish sandwich, is what I'm grasping. Oh, I hate tuna fish sandwich. Did you try the tuna fish sandwich? No, it's tuna fish. Okay. You hate the broccoli? Yeah, I hate the broccoli. Why do you hate the broccoli? Someone told me the broccoli sucked. Okay. Why didn't you try the broccoli? Well, because someone told me the broccoli sucked. It seems to be an issue of you not trusting your own opinion or risking it yourself. And on top of all this, you could have simply looked up gameplay of the game or understood the game feel of the game by virtue of just playing the game. Steam allows you to get 2 hours to play a game, and then you could just stop totality. You could have watched some game. This is what I do all the time. Watch some gameplay. Look at the game. Decide if it's something that's up your alley. Sign your gameplay loop. That's what I always do. And then see how the game feel is. Ignore, like, you've watched the gameplay videos, you've seen that, then get into the game feel. You have 2 hours to return the game on Steam. That's what you could do. This person is on Steam. I'm discovering this person is on Steam. You could have just done that in totality. You could have easily done that. Now with PlayStation and Xbox, it's a bit more difficult to return games. But on Steam, at the very minimum, you could have at least done that. That would have been easier instead of just waiting until it's full release and saying, well, since everybody's talking about it now, I guess I'll jump on the train. You are a follower, buddy. You are a deep follower. Anyways, I'm going to get into this. Eventually got pushed by Pythia to buy the game. And let me tell you again, this is a hardcore Pokemon fan. I'm aware your entire thing is literally the grass starter and an actual defender of Pokemon. What a blast it has been. The game has some real potential and actual sauce. So this is what happens when a Pokemon fan actually gets to play a game that's good. Horrible to see. And it's so sad. It reminds me of... I had played this Pokemon fan game called Pokerogue. And I want to point this out. I'm not a fan of Pokemon. Just going to state that right now. I have played Pokemon Gold, Pokemon Silver. I played Pokemon Revolution. I played Pokemon XD Gale Darkness. I played Pokemon Stadium. I like those games. Pokemon Stadium 2 as well. I played Pokemon Coliseum. So those games were fun to me. GameCube era is basically where I was at. And I drifted out of the Wii era. And I played one handheld. I played Black and White, I believe. Black and White. Those are my games that I played. And then I tried to get into the Switch games with Arceus. Arceus was pretty good. And then I got Sword and Shield, which I didn't complete Sword and Shield because the gameplay loop agitated the hell out of me. Just want to point that out. That's where I'm at with Pokemon. I played Pokerogue. I have every Pokemon in Pokerogue maxed out IVs. I have everything unlocked in Pokerogue. I love Pokerogue. Pokerogue is a free-to-play MMO RPG, no, or free-to-play roguelike about Pokemon. That game was fun. When you actually make a good game with what you have, it makes it feel better. Because there are good games that you could play, but a lot of people don't want to play these good games because they're scared that it may infringe upon their, I can only assume it's nostalgia or deep love. You're in a Stockholm syndrome yourself because you love the game so much that anything that even slightly resembles the game that isn't the game, or anything that is close to trying to replace the thing that you love, you get angry about it. It's very possessive, very envious of something that is not trying to be the thing. So it's beautiful. Now this is really cool because the next point this person states, he states this. The first thing to note is that Palworld is nothing like Pokemon. No dip. It's as if this person only saw trailers, didn't even think to look at the gameplay, and then said, nah, I don't want to do that. This, I can tell just by the designs. You would have had to have only seen screenshots and never have seen a trailer to even assume that. You already said you talked about the slave mechanics and stuff of that variety. Did you see the gameplay in any capacity? Palworld is like Ark with Pokemon. That's what it is. It's not like Pokemon. It's like Ark more than it's like Pokemon. It plays completely different to a point that honestly it's not even comparable, which is why I disagree with a lot of comparison discourses on the subject. In Pokemon, you go through an RPG and build a team of creatures that you eventually bond with and make stories with, sharing a well-defined story with characters. Alright, I want to point this out. All the Pokemon stories have been pretty lackluster. I just want to point this. I don't know about the story. The story recently with Pokemon games hasn't been the best. I'll admit that some Pokemon games have great stories, but that just seems, I don't know, you just feel like you're lying to yourself. I don't want to dog on Pokemon too much, but I've played a fair amount of Pokemon games. I haven't played a lot, but I play a fair amount, and I don't think the story is the main premise of where everybody gets into Pokemon. I don't know, maybe I'm stupid, maybe I don't understand Nintendo fans that much. In Palworld, you survive. There is a story, but generally the main objective of Palworld is pretty much survival. Your pals are still companions you can bond and share stories with. You can still build a team to join you on your travels across Palpagos. However, a much larger aspect to have the necessary pals to automatize processes in your base to make resources, makes your relationship to pals very different than the ones you would entertain with Pokemon. I do have a small gripe in terms of characters and oh my god, I messed up. In human designs, Palworld doesn't really get that to correctly. It's just they're too basic and don't seem to have that many memorableness aside from characters like Zoe and one creepy ass dog coin merchant. But yet again, the focus of Palworld as a survival and resource gathering generating game makes it so that it's understandable if the human characters are as sort of basic-ish NPCs. Same goes for the story. It doesn't really captivate me. I hate reading. This is why I don't read or write scripts. I hate reading. I just hate reading most of the time. My bad. One kind of even what I kind of even don't care as much and only really follow it for pure progression. However, a survival game, it makes sense because again, you focus more on the survival aspects. Initially, the progression felt super slow, but as you get more pals in your base and materials, you obviously get the hang of it. Welcome to a video game. I really don't it just feels like listening to, as I said in the beginning, listening to a dad learn, guys, we gotta be nice to our family because they're the only ones we got, right? Guys, we shouldn't be mean to these outsiders because they're just like us. It just feels like that. It feels like somebody hated the game a long time. I don't even know if I find this perspective to be valuable. I imagine it's because they are from the Pokemon community, but it still feels strange to have this. It just feels strange. It's just, it is very slowing up, so you need to have the right pals to do the work for you with that aspect. While that aspect can drive off someone who may not be that patient, me, it also pushes you to explore the region more, to find appropriate pals, materials, and characters to interact with, to progress your stats and missions. I think they did a good job balancing these sorts of things and incentivizing exploration. Speaking of, the map is gigantic. I'm still sort of shocked at how big the map feels. The world tree generally feels like it can be reached in a couple of days of walking. That's of course obvious for a survival game though. You do need huge spaces to allow a diversity of resources and entities like the big Zelda games like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. It does make me want to discover what's within the fog of war. I have to go to sleep soon, and yet I still have the urge to going back and ride my Chilla all the way to the world tree and beyond. Just this, you found a good game. I'm very happy you found a good game, but the previous just near ignorance to even deciphering or trying to discover what the game was is near baffling to me. It's as if people immediately see something, decide they don't like it without seeing anything within it, and then say, well, I knew it was bad from the beginning. Oh, it's good now? Well, that's strange. This game has been this way for quite some time. 1.0 did add a lot of changes to the game, but the game is basically still the same gameplay loop, and it's still been the same game. It's still the same thing. So far, I would say that the game does feel more basic-ish, but they have implemented a bunch of content when it comes to using your pals, their purposes and resource management, and how you can use them in battle, and how you can use them in traveling. You can feel that these past 2 years, they were strongly focused on making sure Palworld's core mechanics work best, and also delivering some more unique and original pals. They even redesigned older one. You didn't play the previous game. You didn't play. What I'm discovering is you didn't play the previous game because it was still the same game, right? It had this different changes. I feel like you're still doing the same thing. You didn't learn a lesson. You're doing the same thing you did before. You didn't learn a single lesson from this experience of not judging a book by its cover, and you still are taking the word of things that were already there. It's strange. It's strange. It does, however, make the world itself feel more generic, as more attention were brought onto the pals themselves to the detriment of the strong world building and storytelling. I do hope Pocket Pair can tweak that a bit too, to really make Papa Ghost more memorable and give it a stronger identity. One thing I applaud for them is a super simple multiplayer system. Having friends over as simple as a click of a button. You don't need to set up whatever or pay for any services like you do for Minecraft or Hytale. I also like how you can even bring a pal from another save. My opinion of pal will definitely change over time, and I can say this game is good. It still has a lot to work on in my opinion. It can still improve from this point forward. I do wish Nintendo let them alone, blah 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 boom. I will keep playing Palworld for a time being, and it'll switch and probably switch from a time to time basis, as I do like with Minecraft moment. It's like a forever game, delivers exactly what it promised to deliver. Also, hi, chill it. This is interesting. This is interesting. I feel like people are going to enjoy this perspective a lot, but to me, it just reads as somebody who didn't give the game a chance, and now the game's fully released. They're giving it a chance and said, you know what, guys, it's not that bad. If you played 1.0 release, you'll understand that it's basically the same game just with DLC. It agitates me. It reminds me of, I was hanging out with this guy, and he said, my glasses off, oh my god. I was hanging out with this guy, and he had said, hey, got a question for you. You ever played Monster Hunter? I said, yeah. He said, I hate Monster Hunter. It's disgusting. I said, have you ever played Monster Hunter? He said, no. But I don't think it's a good game. I've seen the gameplay, and it looks like it takes too much time. Monster Hunter World came out, and he still didn't play the game because he was under the impression Monster Hunter would take a lot of time and he wouldn't enjoy the gameplay loop. I said, completely understandable. And then he played Iceborne. I don't know how he played Iceborne, but he played Iceborne. Hits me up randomly and says, hey man, you want to hop on Iceborne? I just started. I said, oh, why'd you get Iceborne? It was $10 on Steam sale, so I want to play it. I said, okay. We hop in. Immediately loves the game. Immediately. He says, wow, has the game always been like this because of the DLC of Iceborne? I said, no, it's not because of the DLC of Iceborne. The game has always been like this. There's a regular progressive loop of the game, brother. He said, oh, well, I didn't know that. I said, have you never looked up gameplay of Monster Hunter World? He said, no, I just assumed it was about nothing. People said Monster Hunter takes a long time. I didn't want to loot and gather, but the gathering here is super cool. I like that. It's the natural progressive state of your favorite franchise whenever it gets bigger is the bogging down to help the dumbest person, is what I'm discovering, right? It's that level of a game has to be easy enough for the dummy to get it and hard enough for the pro to love it. It's the same reason why there's modern controls in Street Fighter, because the regular person still needs to understand and love the game. But, and this is very important, the dummies ruin games but make them better. The dummies are the reason that you actually get to play the games. And then there are people that don't even see the game and judge the game. It's strange loop. But this Palworld stuff, this Palworld hate is very strange. I'm not really sure about it. If you like Palworld, that's great. If you like Pokemon, I'm proud of you. Pokemon has been a large part of my life for a long time. I do deeply love Pokemon. I even cosplay as a Team Rocket Grunt because that's my favorite design in a character. I love the Newsboy cap. It's my favorite thing of all time. I just think that watching people discover a game is good is such a stupid thing to do. I don't know. Anyways, let me know your thoughts about Palworld. Let me know if you're playing. I've been me, and I'm out. Peace. Bye.
I'm your Nick and Night, be my Laurel. Ooh, happy to try what you need. Your world, I love to live in it. Ooh, I love the ride when you